Actually, we'll talk about that. So, Christian.
Okay. Okay, I'm Wayne Christian. I'm honored to be the 50th Railroad Commissioner for the state of Texas. It's my associates, Jim Wright and Christy Craddock, have allowed me to be the chairman of the Railroad Commission. The Railroad Commission itself has nothing to do with railroads. Railroad Commission of Texas by Forbes magazine is stated as the most respected regulatory agency for oil and gas on planet Earth. We regulate what is the production of 1/3 of the state economy of Texas, 1 out of every 10 jobs. All the rainy day fund, all the permanent school fund is financed by what we regulate as oil and gas and minerals in Texas. I'm running for re-election because I think there is a threat on our entire existence in the state of Texas and in the United States, in the world. We have been blessed in Texas with the largest amount of oil and gas in history. World War I, we got a letter from the European Commonwealth after World War I that they thanked Texas for the wave of oil. World War II, Winston Churchill says it was a sea of oil from East Texas that helped win World War II. And for the third time, we have the largest discovery of oil in West Texas in history. Because of that, I think I have the experience. I'm the only Republican historically that's in the race right now. I've stood for the free market economy. I've chaired in the Railroad Commission now 2 times. To do that in the House for 14 years, I served. In the House, I was on Energy Committee on regulated industry. I'm very familiar, and I think we need, in this battle against our way of life, I think we need somebody with experience rather than a freshman on the job that has no experience whatsoever. Railroad Commission originally, this is over those that are historical, there's probably more to it, but basically, in the beginning, the railroads were what carried all product to and from markets. And so basically, if you ran the railroad, regulated them, you regulated oil and gas and everything else that passed. And so it was very important that time. Over the years, as oil and gas became more and more prevalent, the minerals became so rich and such a part of our economy, then the railroad regulation moved over to the TxDOT, Texas Department of Transportation. But basically it started, and historically, since it's the oldest regulatory commission for oil and gas on earth, it has a history, 130 plus years. A lot of our historical friends don't want to change the name, and frankly, the world itself that revolves the oil and gas industry, when you mention the Railroad Commission of Texas, they know what you're talking about. The biggest challenges before the Railroad Commission of Texas is people are trying people don't recognize the value of oil and gas to the state of Texas, to the free world. I think the horrible events in the Ukraine have made it very evident of the power of oil and gas to our entire Western society. How do we defend the increasing cost of oil and gas in this country, in this nation right now, the price of gasoline at the pump? Well, the way you do it is to get an administration in office that allows us to do what we did the last administration, and that's to drill, baby, drill and produce. The Railroad Commission of Texas is making sure that the bad guys are watched, that the environment is clean, that we make sure that it's done ethically and morally. That's our job. We are to make sure that both the physical and the fiscal products of energy, the minerals we have, are used appropriately in the state of Texas. Why should the average Texan or American care about the Railroad Commission and oil and gas in Texas? Well, quite frankly, it's what's made modern life available and what we enjoy. Understand 100 years ago, my dad and his 3 brothers, they farmed, they raised cotton, they raised crops 6 days a week, daylight till dark. And the average lifespan was 48 years of age. There were diseases for which there was no cure. What the biggest environmental causes of death 100 years ago were starvation during winters when you didn't have food because you didn't raise enough crops, and freezing to death during cold winters. Today, we gripe because the thermostat's too hot or cold a degree. We have an obesity problem. We live to age 78, the average lifespan, and only 1.5% of Texans feed 1/3 of the world. It's our way of life, and people do not, I think, appreciate that is what is different from third world countries, is energy. You've got to have the energy, and so we have an abundant amount. It's 1/3 again of the economy in Texas, 1 out of every 10 jobs. That's why the average Texan should be very concerned when it's under threat, as it is today, both from our White House, from our Congress, and internationally. Well, I believe I'm more qualified than my opponent for this particular race because, number one, I've been a Republican the first Republican elected to the Texas House since Reconstruction in Deep East Texas. I've served for 14 years in the House. Now I've served, will be my second term as Railroad Commission Chairman, so I have the experience. I have proven my conservative rating. My opponent has never voted in but one Republican primary in her life, and it was for herself this time. She's pro-abortion. I'm not. She is against the police. I'm not. She's for all this critical race theory being taught in our public schools. I'm not. And I believe if people go down the list and look at one qualification after another, I believe she follows very closely the Democratic agenda. She's for Beto as governor. She's contributed to Beto for governor. And so I think she should not be on the Republican ticket. So I think you can have a Biden or AOC Democrat on the Railroad Commission in control of your oil and gas, or you have the choice for a Republican, which is myself. I have served in the Texas legislature for 14 years. I've been here for now 5 years on the Railroad Commissions, ran before for Congress, ran before for other events. I'm the one person in this race that's had my ethics report, my finances drilled over for a quarter century now. And I'm the only person that's had that done. I have no ethics filings against me. Where a lot of the controversy, I think, is that my opponent and others have raised the point, well, the Railroad Commission shouldn't be receiving money from oil and gas industry because that's who they benefit from and rule on. Well, understand this, there's some freedoms that are given in the Constitution. One is the freedom of speech that we consider today and we can discuss things. Number two is the freedom to vote, that we can vote for the candidates secretly we want to. That's been under attack. And also the ability for me to donate to whatever candidate I want to. And that's a freedom I have to contribute. And I cannot receive money from big corporations, from big oil companies. They have their PACs that I can, and it follows all types of ethic laws, which I've followed. But what people have got to ask themselves, okay, if we say the Railroad Commission, which controls energy in Texas, cannot receive money from anybody except those that oppose oil and gas in Texas, what do you wind up with? You limit their freedom of speech to support the lifestyle that has made Texas, Texas. So it's a freedom of speech issue. But they can check my report much longer than my opponents and no ethics breaches there. Well, my website for anybody that would like more information and some details about our campaign is christianfortexas.com, christianfortexas.com. And just remember to tell all your friends and neighbors on the runoff to vote for the only Christian on the ballot.